Ya estaba grabando.
Hi, Charlie. How are you? Um,
Hey,
first of, first of all, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. My name is Maria Paula, and we are doing a research interview about Plastic Bank's business model and circular economy systems in Colombia. First of all, I would like you to tell us about you, who you are, and what do you do for in your work.
yeah, absolutely. Hi, Maria. Nice to meet you. My name is Charlie. I am the founder of a company called MCC. We're a financial advisor slash IT financial advisor for mid-market businesses.
Okay, perfect. Before we start, I would like you to give you a clear explanation of what Plastic Bank is. Plastic Bank is an international social enterprise that aims to stop plastic from entering the oceans while improving the lives of people in vulnerable communities. The organization works by creating recycling ecosystems in areas with high levels of poverty and plastic waste. Community members collect plastic waste and exchange it for valuable benefits like money, digital credits, essential goods, health insurance, and other regards. All the collected plastic is recorded using blockchain technology, guaranteeing full traceability and transparency. This allows companies to purchase social plastic, recycled material with proven environmental and social impact. And well, if the explanation is clear to you and everything is good, we can begin with the
Yeah,
questions.
no, it's all clear.
Okay, the first question is, how would you describe the real magnitude of the plastic pollution problem in Colombia?
I think it's quite grand from a consumer standpoint. And I've traveled for a lot of countries. I think it's one of the worst I've been to. There is so much plastic waste. Um, trying to think. Right, so very few like restaurants or everything I go. There's so much styrofoam cups, packages. There's very little reusable kind of tools that people provide. Right, there's just a lot of plastic.
Yeah, you're right. Well, the two question um, is how differentiated do you consider plastic bank's value proposition compared to existing alternatives in Colombia?
I not that familiar with the existing alternatives in Colombia, but I do think any sort of business and startups that's focused on improving the environment is a good cause, especially if you can make it economical for everyone in the process so that everyone benefits economically. The way I believe is everything follows numbers and everything follows economics, but it's always just that much better if it's for a good cause as well.
Okay, perfect. Um, I like to go a bit deeper into how the solution actually works in practice. And the question is, what elements do you consider essential for a collection plus regard system to work in Colombia?
I think the first piece is we need to do some market research of what exists today. This is a big problem to tackle. You need a lot of money. You need to have definitely government sponsorship or sponsorship from large corporations. But I think the biggest part here is how do we make the incentives, because everything is driven by economics, incentives. How do we have an incentive model so that everyone partaking in this full supply chain is benefited and they want to actually make this work?
Okay, I understand. Following what you just say, I would like to know which types of incentives like money, vouchers, products, services are most attractive for vulnerable communities.
I so I think there's two questions here. So not two questions, two angles. Are we trying to decrease plastic waste or are we trying to remove plastic waste? So depending on that, the answer is different.
Well, like they were trying to help us doing the work in recollecting plastic and then taking them to a um, place where they be recycling. But my question here is for you, which type of incentives, like the
No, I
options?
understand. I understand. So what I'm trying to say is like there's two angles. You can try to decrease usage,
Yeah.
right? And then there's the try to recuperate it, right? So depending which angle you want to go, there's different incentives, right? If you want to go with decreased usage, I think you have to hit the big companies that sells it. Right? The big company that distribute all the plastic cups and plates. You want to make it reasonable for them to want to replace plastic waste. Right. So examples of that could be like government tax credits, right? If they use less plastic, paper, and organic decomposable plates and cups, they can get tax credit. From the other angle, if it's more for a collection, so I've seen this in other countries where I've seen this work for other countries where basically the government changes the law so that you can't just throw all your garbage out in one bin or one bag, and people get paid based off how much plastic they combine. That's one way. The other one that's a bit more effective from what I've seen is they get charged. So they actually get a bill. If you're found plastic waste in your regular garbage, you have to pay for it,
Okay, perfect.
right?
Well, the next question is, what limitations do traditional recycling model have that plastic ban could overcome?
I think I need to understand a bit more about the plastic banks, but the I mean the whole idea is try to use leverage more technology. So instead of using people and labor, it's always better to try to leverage more technology. So um, I think there's two angles. One is in the processing. So in the processing of the garbage, right? So I don't know how real this is, but I've heard news of other countries where there are kind of AI machines doing the processing that will figure out how much of the garbage is plastic, right? So that way you can actually, so instead of like a person doing it, because no one wants to do that job, right? You have machines do it. The other one is, I think, with enough data, you can kind of figure out which regions have more plastic, right? So generally, I'm gonna guess the richer the region, the burial, the neighborhoods, right? The more recycling they're doing, potentially less plastic. Generally, what I see is the lower the economic status of the neighborhood, it probably has more plastic waste usage. Right. So I think by using data, you can figure out which neighborhoods you should target first, and then you can have different incentives for different neighborhoods. I think in Colombia, you actually have a similar program for utilities. Depending on the neighborhood, you pay a different price for water and utilities. So I can think you can, I think based on the data that you can have a similar model for how much reward it is, right? So, for example, the rich is not going to care if they get some money for the plastic. They're not going to care. They're rich, right? But then for different economic zones, they have more plastic and they care more about the economic incentives.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Well, and the next question is, what challenges exist when implementing blockchain technology in a Colombia recycling ecosystem?
Um, I mean, for the full project, you need adoption. Adoption needs basic velocity, it needs government backing, it needs money. That's one thing. The other one is if you're talking about blockchain, Depending on which chain you use, you might have limitations on the transaction volume, right? So depending on at what level of granularity you want to process this at, um, different blockchains might not have the bandwidth for you to track all them correctly.
Okay, perfect. Continue with blockchain. I'd like to understand more about its benefits and what concrete benefits would blockchain provide to certify the origin and social impact of social plastic for purchasing companies.
Well, the whole idea behind blockchain is to have transparency, right? Especially as you guys get bigger, there's money involved. People are going to get paid. You want to make sure the money goes to the right hands, right? And with blockchain, the whole idea is to have transparency so that you can't falsify data. It's on every node, right? So this way, you know who should get paid, and the correct money goes to the correct people. I'm also going to guess that the speed of the payment will make a big difference, right? So if you're relying on traditional government or just traditional payment methods, it might be something they get paid once a month. You might almost have to go somewhere to get the money, but if it's on the blockchain, potentially they can get paid immediately, which to certain economic status classes, that is money potentially they need now.
Okay. Okay, perfect. The next question is what practical benefits would big data, bring to optimize collection zones or measure social impact?
I think the data could be used for logistics. So how often does it depends on the vehicle, right? If there's cars or just service centers you plan to use to collect the plastic, depending on data, if you're using vehicles, moving vehicles, the data can tell you when and where you should go. If it's like factories or locations that's used for you to drop off the waste, you can use the data to help you decide where to locate them, to put them. A good example is to think about is if you guys look up the case studies for Bird and Lime, it's the scooter company. Um, they used a lot of data to figure out where to put their scooters. So similar idea to you guys is like how do you use this to maximize your efficiency in your logistics?
Okay, like put in local zones. Yeah.
Yeah, so Bird is a scooter company that you can rent, right? So um they need to make sure the scooters are put in the right places so that people want to use them, right?
Okay.
So you want to use the data to make sure that the facilities are put in the right locations so that's as efficient as possible.
Okay, perfect. And to complete the section, I like to ask about risks. So, what technological risks should be considered in a model based on digital traceability?
Well, it depends on what chain you want to use, right? If you use a brand new chain, you don't have enough nodes, um, you can very easily get that overtaken, right? So the risk with blockchains is if you have too much centralization. For example, if someone has over 50% of the nodes, you lose all transparency.
Okay, now that we covered all the technological part, I like to move into how this model could be implemented in real environments. So the question is, how viable is to set up collection centers in retail chains such as stores? I don't know if you know it, Éxito,
Yeah,
Olímpica de Uno, or neighborhood stores.
I think that's the right way to go with it. So I always think you should try to leverage big existing companies and ecosystems because they already have it. Um, I think it's a great place. Like imagine a world where oh, this can go back to your center question. Imagine a world where every time you go get groceries, you drop off your plastic and then you get a coupon that you can use to shop. That's a phenomenal model. I think everyone wins. The big companies like Exitos and them, they get social credit, right? So social brand is a big thing these days. They want to look like they want to look like, and they want to be economically, not economically, environmentally responsible,
Like
right?
sustainable.
Sustainable. They might get government credits from it, so they win. The consumer has a place to drop off their plastic. They have to take the same plastic bag anyways, because you have everyone's using the reusable bags, so they can use the same bag, drop off the plastic, and then use that bag for their actual groceries, and they get a coupon on it. And then for you guys, you get that leverage, right?
Perfect. And I just have one last question, and is what is the biggest regulatory challenge when introducing a circular economy model based on regards?
Um, I think it's just adoption. Like getting Exitos and these companies to adopt is going to be difficult. Also, like there's a cost to it, right? It's like it needs to be done in a very because like if you think about these stores, Exitos, they want to be clean, right? They don't want the interest of like be covering garbage, things like that as well. From a regulatory standpoint, I'm not sure, but my gut tells me there probably shouldn't be that much unless it becomes a health problem, right? So maybe if we talk that Exito example, that's where food is held, right? Right. So putting garbage and recycling so clean to so close to food, you might have a health safety issue.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, you're right. I don't think about it. Well, that was my last question. And Charlie, thank you so much for the time and for sharing your knowledge with us. And your answers will be extremely helpful for our project. Thank you very much.
Glad I was able to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
All right. Take care. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Gracias, Charlie.
Hasta luego. Ciao.
Gracias, Charlie.